Yeah, looks good, man. Look at that.
Thank you.
Love the Sauron helm. That's sick.
Yeah, the mic. David Townsend said the same thing. So, man, the new album is out now, Exilium. So, a lot of work, you told me, and I know you like to be busy.
Like is a strong word.
Yeah. But you are very devoted to all your projects, and once again, a solo project by Andy Gillion that is really different from the previous one. So
Yeah, yeah,
you had like Never After in 2019 that was like leaning more towards progressive metal, but a mix with melodic death metal. Very ambitious project, I think, and on a in an artistic level, I'm guessing it was a really hard one to pull off.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely. Yeah,
and then you did arcade metal, which was way different, way 80s inspired, with a lot of great hooks, very melodic and very video games inspired as well. And then this one, Exilium, which you can qualify this album like the next album of Mors Principium Est, the follow-up to 7 that you wrote entirely. So there's a lot of difference between all of those albums, and this
yeah.
is a shorter one also, 35 minutes instead of like 52, 53 minutes. So I told you a lot of things just now, but I will let you speak a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think I've probably confused a lot of my fans by releasing so many different types of music.
Not me.
And I've I've made
I'm
it
okay.
difficult for myself. I think I've made it difficult for myself to go live with this as well because, but really, like obviously I was in Mors Principium Est writing the music for them for about 10 years, and towards the end of my time in that band, I've always wanted to do a solo album, and I had an idea in my head that it would be the Never After record would be my first solo album. And I mean, I was so busy with the band, I never really had an opportunity to show that side of my composition, which I guess I don't really know how to put it into a genre, because the whole idea of Never After was it was loads of different genres put into one. So Never After was an instrumental progressive metal album, really, which was different from what I was doing in the band, and that was awesome. And once I got that out of my system, I was like, I want to do another album, but I always wanted to do like a video game inspired album. So I did arcade metal, which was obviously very different, as you said, lots of synths and 80s vibes, and again instrumental, because I considered myself to be, I guess, like a prog guitar player who didn't do vocals really, although I like to sing.
No
I
way.
never really did it on an album.
No way.
So
Just a parenthesis. The first time
yeah,
I heard about you, it was, I think, even before Mors Principium Est, or just at the beginning.
yeah.
And you did like a cover of a Queen song. I think it was
Oh
Bohemian
yeah,
Rhapsody. And you
Bohemian
were,
Rhapsody. Yeah,
yeah, and you were
yeah.
doing all those voices, and I thought you were really good at
Oh, thank you.
singing. So, but I didn't know about the screaming vocals, and I was like, "Holy
Yeah,
shit, he can scream as well." So,
I didn't
I'm
know. I didn't know I could do that either.
oh
So yeah, I
no,
mean, so I've always one of my first bands I was ever in, I was the singer. I joined the lead singer of a band when I was like 10 years old. So like I've always sung, I've always done covers and things. Like I know I can get on the mic at karaoke night. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't until leaving Mors Principium Est that I realized a lot of people still wanted to hear that kind of sound from me. So I've done these progressive albums. I've done these, like, every album has to have a theme. I really feel like I need to have a strong theme or a concept. And then this album, it was like, I've got all these demos, and I think people still want to hear that Melodeath sound. But I don't want to just do that as an instrumental album. So originally I decided to get lots of, I wanted to have a different person on every track as a guest vocalist. That was the idea for Exilium. It was, let's do And then I was like, I think I can do a bit of vocals myself. I kind of want to do that. So then it was like, maybe I'll do 50% of the vocals. And then either I got more confident, or the people kept turning me down for scheduling reasons. So I ended up just being like, well, screw this. I'll just do everything. And I had to learn. I really had to learn how to scream from scratch.
You didn't know.
I didn't. Well, like, I did some kind of noise, but it wasn't really a very good scream. It was more like pushing as hard as I can with my singing. And some of that is also on the record. So, like, some people have said, yeah, kind of limited technique, but also more of like a pitched scream. So I'd just be singing really hard, kind of like a Rob Flynn type thing.
Okay.
Rather than like the Fry screaming, it was coming from the voice. And what's cool is I learned to sort of blend that and go between the two. So there's like voiceless Fry screaming, and there's the more like pitched vocal screaming. And I got in touch with a vocal coach called Mary Zimmer. She's absolutely amazing, and we just talked for like 2 Zoom calls, and that was it. I just went off and I did my own thing, and I just kind of learned. And it took a long time, a lot of practice, but I was trying to find. I think the way a lot of metal vocalists get into screaming is they just some band, the local band needs someone to scream, and they just so happen to be able to make a noise. So they just like, yeah, I think I can scream, and then that's their natural sound. Whereas I approached it very differently. I knew the sound I wanted, and I wanted to learn how to do that. It wasn't just an accident. It was like, I need to make my vocals sound like this thing that I've got in my head. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. And I think the sound of it's just perfect for the music. And it's not that far from the Mors Principium Est sound as well, so it fits. It's not the same vocal, obviously, but it's in the same range, I will say.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it had to
take it as a compliment.
Thank you. I will. Absolutely. I mean, like vocals are very difficult because they can separate whether someone likes an album or not. It's very subjective. Everyone has their idea of. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people love Dream Theater, some people hate Dream Theater because of the vocals, and I'm like, I love the vocals in Dream Theater, but I can also kind of understand why someone else might not. And like, if you think about Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose's voice is very like chalk and cheese. Some people hate it, some people love it, and for this album, yeah. Go ahead.
That's why some people will listen to Liquid Tension Experiment instead of Dream Theater.
Yeah, right, sure, exactly.
I love both. So, but James Labrie isn't my favorite singer, but I think he's pretty good on some albums. On some others, maybe not as much. But go ahead.
But that's it, though, isn't it? Like, you could put out. I could put vocals out to this album, and it's been the feedback I've had has been amazing. It's the first time I've done vocals on a record, and almost everyone seems to be very happy with it. But of course, you're going to get people who are like, they preferred the more Scandinavian type tone or some other thing. But come on, like, it's the most subjective instrument. You have to just do whatever you can do to put the story across. Like, this album had a story, and it needed to be. Like, I needed a vehicle to carry that story across, and it wasn't just guitar. I feel like with Never After, I was able to I like to tell the story with melody, but this was like, no, let's go heavy with the lyrics. We need vocals, and in the end, it was just, I just ended up doing almost all of it. Obviously, Brittany from Unleashed Archers was on one track, so that I couldn't quite reach those notes. Let's just say that.
But talking about that song, I think it's like almost a blend between Unleash the Archers and Symphony X, the Underworld album with the riffing. It's like a little bit of Michael Romeo, the style of riffing.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think so?
Yes. Yeah, so that particular song, if we're talking
just
about...
that song.
Yeah, as the Kingdom Burns. So that single I wrote with the idea of it being kind of more like a Symphony X style the
Oh yeah,
vocals I put, yeah, because like I do lots of different types of vocals on that. So I do a bit of
I
dry
didn't know.
screaming, I do a bit yeah, yeah, exactly. Michael Romeo obviously is a big hero of mine. So I play
Oh,
him, so
of mine too,
unbelievable.
man.
But also, the vocals from Symphony X. I kind
Russell
of tap
Allen.
into that. Russell Allen, unbelievable, and I tap into that kind of sound for the clean, harsh, kind of like gritty, clean vocals that I do in that song.
Yeah.
He was a massive inspiration for that too. So that particular song was very power metal oriented and very Symphony X and Unleash the Archers, obviously. And I thought that was perfect for Britney. So yeah.
But still, it has a lot of grit, I think. And I like your vocal. I think you can use that vocal more on the next
Thanks.
opus.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
And it's
Cool.
it's so amazing how you expanded your vocals technique in such a short amount of time. I'm really impressed. I thought you were screaming for years. To be
No,
really
no,
honest,
definitely,
oh my
honestly, like, maybe a year or two practice. Yeah,
I didn't know
Quite 2
about
years,
your
yeah.
clean vocals that were great, and I think you can use them a lot more too on the next
Yeah.
album. But maybe maybe you will completely switch style again. And
but that's the thing, isn't it? You never know. You never know how it's going to be received. And there's a couple of moments on this album where I do like clean singing, like actually fully clean singing, and I'm like, that in some corners of metal is frowned upon. People are like, oh, I don't want clean singing in my metal. Like it needs to all be screams. And I'm such a more broad ranged musician than that. I appreciate all kinds of instruments, all kinds of styles, all kinds of vocal styles. So I wanted to put a bit of that clean singing in there. And to be honest, most people I think have been really into that. And I think it needs to be used in the right way. I think if you're doing the whole, I don't know, sometimes it's kind of a bit cliche when you do the singy chorus every time.
yeah,
But
exactly what I was about to say.
if it's too formulaic. But then the funniest thing is, like, I went into this album knowing that when you do scream vocals on an album, the reviews will almost always pick up on and say it needs to be more varied. You need to have different styles. You want to have the highs, the lows. So I made sure I did cleans. I had a female vocalist doing cleans. I had a tiny bit of low kind of guttural stuff creeping in. I had pitched screams where I'm really yelling a note that is screaming. I did fry screaming, mids and highs. Like, I really layered this. And then I had the Symphony X gritty vocal as well.
Yeah.
And you still have people saying, oh, it needs more variations. Like, how could it have more variation than that? It's fucking everything. But you can't win with everyone, obviously. So.
I just think vocally you deliver what the songs ask for, and if the riff demands clean vocal, just push a clean vocal, and just don't give a fuck about what people can like think, or if you think that's the right spot for a clean vocal, for a low growl vocal, just do it. It's like the same for like a guitar solo. If the song is not asking for a guitar solo, or you don't have the guitar solo that fits the song, just don't put any guitar solo. I think.
Agree with that. I agree.
Look, one of the best Children of Bodom song is Northern Comfort on Follow the Ripper, and there's not even a solo on that song. There's leads, but not a complete solo like they will do on every other single song, and still it's a magnificent song.
Yeah, you have to serve the song. That's what I always say.
Always.
Put the ego aside, put everything aside. Whatever makes the song better is what should go to the song. And we had that same thing going on in the studio. I worked with Dave Haley from Psychotic on the drums for this album.
Yeah.
And he did an unbelievable job. But he brought in so many ideas. Obviously, I would write the drums with MIDI first, and then give that to him, and then he took that away and wrote his own stuff. And he would have so many extra ideas, and he'd come in, and my buddy Chris also produced the drums, so three of us were in the studio, and the mantra that day was, or all week actually, if it's better, if it makes the song better, it goes in the song. It doesn't matter what you wrote, it doesn't matter what he wrote, if it makes the song better, it goes in. That's it. That's all that matters.
That's the best rule.
Nothing else matters. Same with the, like you said, with the guitar solo. Like, if you get to a point in the song, and actually I did that on one of these songs at Exilium, I think it was A New Path. I thought, oh, this song doesn't have a guitar solo yet. And for the longest time, I just didn't have a guitar solo. And actually, I put one in, but for the longest time, I didn't need it. It only came in when it felt right. But you're so right. There's no point just putting it in because you're following a blueprint, you know, or like a formula. That doesn't. It's not exciting to. If it's not exciting to you, it's not going to be exciting to the listener, is it? So.
Yeah, because it will sound like it was from another song.
Yeah.
Like it's like out of nowhere there's a guitar solo that doesn't fit the song emotionally or the feelings you want to give to the listener. So I think you did a great job at that. And there's solos that are shorter on that album. There's some that are more extended, and nothing feels pushed. And when I knew that the psychroptic drummer will be on the album, I was like, I'm not sure maybe it will be too much, like a lot of technical things, and it will like go over everything else on the album. But I think it's just the perfect dot.
Yeah, I think you did a great job, and I think it was really fun to produce that, you know, to be there in the studio in person for a week. But as we said, like, if it serves the song, like Dave could have done blast beats over the whole album. Of course, he was never going to do that. But like, he knows what's going to work. Yeah, he can. He can do anything. But like it's not about showing off all the time, and that's hard for me as a guitar player too, because I'm like, more lead guitars, more solos and stuff. But you've got to understand that something changes when you're a composer. I think at some point you stop trying to write the hardest things, the most difficult things to play, and you start to focus on actual songs. Like I care more about actual songs, not just parts of songs being really crazy. I'm like, but does this feel like a complete product? Does this feel like someone will remember that song compared to that song? It's not just a whole riff, like 20 riffs in an album, and then it's forgotten about. That's pointless to me. I want people to go on a journey and to go back and listen again. I want people to remember a song because it had a strong theme or a vibe for that song. Yeah.
I think if you are able to succeed at doing 20 riffs in a song and it makes sense, that's a tour de force.
Yes.
And some band did that. I'm just thinking about Eyster. Do you know the band Eyster?
Oh yeah, Eyster, yeah.
So the first few albums, John Schaefer was like doing 15 to 20 riffs a song. And
that's crazy, right?
And those songs are so fucking nice.
Yeah.
And sometimes you will listen to a song just for that 10-second riff. You're like, I have to get to that riff, and you will listen to the whole song again, and just it only for that fucking part.
Yeah, and it only lasts that one bit, and you're like, why didn't you double it? Why didn't you extend it? That's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. You want more. You always leave them wanting more, right? Yeah.
But those riffs were fitting together, and then with every single album, it was simplifying his sound. But still, the songwriting was quite awesome, except some few albums in the 2000 that were not as interesting, but yeah. And you will not go in jail. I watched the news and it was like, oh, he's not going in jail, probation only. So yeah, good for him. Maybe we'll have some new stuff somewhere in the future.
Maybe. I have a friend actually who was telling me about writing an album where you never repeat a single bit. It's like a technique to writing. It's like a challenge, right? So can you write a song that never repeat, or even a whole album never repeats a single riff or idea? And like, it's a really cool idea. But I don't think that would work with the way I write songs. But it's a cool concept. Like, imagine writing a 30-minute piece of music that never repeats itself. Like, that could be interesting. Like, but it's like, how do you package that? It's kind of how you package it up, right? Like this, Exilium was going to be an EP. It was originally going to be 5 tracks. Then I realized I had way more ideas. I was like, actually, this is like a 7-track EP. And then the songs got longer. I had 8 songs, and I thought, this is an album now.
Yeah.
This is enough for an album. Like it has to be. So yeah, it's a little on the shorter side, but there's no
It's
fat. There's no fat to trim off. Like every song
no.
is exactly to the point. There's no intro. There's no interlude. You know, it's what it is.
It's packed, and it's not like the last Metallica album that had so much fat.
Yeah.
They need to trim that. It's not
Yeah.
bad, but it's like cut like 25 minutes of that album. It will be so much better.
It's the
Because they're
repeats, yeah, the repeating
yeah.
riffs every time.
Oh
Yes.
my
And
god, it repeats itself so
they've always
much.
had that. I think Metallica have always had that problem. I'm a
Yeah,
massive Metallica, old school Metallica fan, but you know, you go back to most of the
Injustice.
albums, yeah,
They
and
started
Justice,
that on Injustice because the
yeah,
three
yeah,
first album wasn't repeating themselves, but on Injustice they were like the song were never ending. Like
yeah. And this is the problem with when you write and arrange music, when you start to say, okay, we've got to, because it always goes like this: intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then a special bit, which is the extra little bridge or the, let's say, the breakdown or whatever special extra source. And then you go, okay, guitar solo, and then we'll just do verse, pre-chorus, chorus again, maybe even a double chorus. And it's like, have you guys thought about an outro? Have you guys thought about going straight to a chorus instead of doing another verse? Do you really think people need to hear that again? And also, one thing I did in Mors quite a lot in Mors Principium Est was we would make people wait for the chorus. So you kind of do like a verse, pre-chorus, and then just when you think you're getting the chorus, you'd cut back to another verse, and then you make people wait, and then you'd only ever give a chorus twice in a song. You're not doing it like 3 times, so that when it finally hits the chorus, you're like, damn, you know, like there's different techniques to keep it interesting, but I think a lot of bands don't even bother to try, and a lot of the time it's like I said, it's like a formula, and it's like people know. It's like watching a movie these days. You know, you go to cinema or you watch a movie and you're like, yeah, about an hour into the film, you're like, I know where I am. You're looking at your watch, like, I know what's going to happen. Now we're at that big fight, and then there's going to be the resolve, and I'm over it. I want something different.
yeah, me too. And too many bands I think are so formulaic and so doing the safe thing and verse, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and like you said, and you told about like having a new riff as an outro.
Yeah.
And Blind Guardian is one band that is doing that on almost every single song.
That's
They are
cool.
bringing something new at the end, almost always, and it's so crazy. I was telling that to some of my friends. They were, I never noticed, and then they were listening to an album again. And they were, fuck, you were right, man.
Yeah,
There's
but the
always
reason
something new by the end.
Yeah, but the reason the fans didn't notice is because it worked. You'd notice if there was a problem, like if it was suddenly something new that didn't fit. But that's really cool as a composer to hear that. Like, and I'm trying to do that actually. I'm trying to bring back the outro. And I don't know if I did that much on this album, but on the follow, I'm doing a follow up to Never After, so I'm working on Never After 2.
Oh yeah.
And yeah,
Wow,
so like I'm bringing
that's
the outro back. I'm like trying to bring the outro back. Yeah.
Wow, I like very much that album. I think I just listened to it today, and
Oh, cool.
there's so many strong songs on that album. Becoming the storm, becoming the dream,
Become the nightmare, become the dream. Yeah, yeah.
the nightmare,
Yeah, yeah,
the dream, becoming
Yeah.
the dream is so nice. The title track is incredible. Skyless with Jeff Loomis. The riffing on that track, I think it's some of the best you have ever done. So
I think so. Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. It's good. I think the idea is to keep people interested, and we kind of have a job to do. as musicians now to when we write music, we've got to make sure that it's not boring. Like I can't stand. I personally find most metal quite boring, actually. Like, if I'm honest, I don't. There's not that many metal bands I listen to because I'm just like I know what's going to happen, and they're not trying to keep people engaged, you know. So it kind of loses me a little bit.
But there are some bands that succeed at that.
But there are some bands that are great.
But they are not that popular. That's the problem.
That's true. Yeah.
That's the fucking problem because
Yeah.
once they go outside the little box, it's like, oh, they don't.
But this is the like, can you be a well-known band? Can you be successful in the mainstream if you deviate from that norm that everyone wants? And that's the problem. Is I am very niche. Really, like what I write is very niche. It's for a very small audience.
Yeah.
Why? And I think why is that? And I guess it's like, you know, most people are happy to get simple music, simple stuff packaged up in a certain way. And I'm just like, no, let's break that. Let's do things differently. Let's keep things more interesting. And people are kind of like, I don't know what he's doing. I can't latch onto that. And so you have to realize that, yeah, I mean, I'm never going to be a huge artist like Metallica or anything, because what I do is very, you know, it's very extra. It's very adding extra things in there.
Still very melodic, and but yeah, I think the problem for a lot of listeners, see, they are not patient. You don't have the patience to give the album like just a whole chance for once.
Yeah.
Like they will listen to 2-3 tracks, and if it doesn't grab them off the gate, they will just drop that thing. But I'm more into listening to a whole album, and if it grabs me just a little bit, I will give it a second chance, like in a week, in a month, sometimes in a year, but sometimes it will be the very next day. And then it grows on me. Because the best music in my ears and my mind is the music that will grow on you, and then in 10 years it's even better. In 20 years it's even better. Listen to The Odyssey by Symphonics. That album is still growing on me after listening to that thing like 200 times.
Yeah.
But it's so sophisticated. But at first I was like, oh, a lot of bombastic riffs, a lot of solo soaring vocals. Okay, but for a lot of people, there's too much. Oh, it's too much.
Yeah.
I can handle that thing. But if they take the time,
it's about investment. It's about investment of time.
Exactly.
So like it's exactly the same with if you have like a film, you know, you have a movie that's like 1.5 hours long, done, get out of the cinema, you're done. People will watch that because it's like I can afford that time. But if you have a long series, like let's say Game of Thrones or something, where you've got like, you know, you've got how many 8 series or 7 or 8 series or whatever, and you've got all these characters, and you've got to learn all the backstories and all the lore and all these different things. It's such a big investment of your time. However, if you do actually enjoy it and get into it, you get way more. You can get way more out of that product than a movie, because the movie's just like, it's just over like that. You don't really learn much about the characters. So I think it's the same for this, and probably the same with books too, right? That if you can put the time in, like you said with those albums that are a bit more complicated, like, oh god, I'm put off by, oh god, I'm gonna have to really like try to listen to this. But then when you really get into an album or a band, where it's like, it sits there, doesn't it? It sits in your brain for like a decade. Like you said, it just marinades in your brain, and then it comes back and you're like, yeah, that album was sick, and it means so much more. And I find that the problem, everyone's attention spans are gone. Like everyone has this like ADHD frenzy now. Spotify has changed the way we write music, because on Spotify, if you have a long intro, no one's going to listen to your music anymore, because they're just like, what's this? I have skip. So you actually find that bands are now not doing those long intros because they don't get the clicks, they don't get the listens, they don't get the streams anymore.
That's so
attention
unfortunate.
span's ruining the art. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
because of TikTok and shorts and
Yeah.
everything. And I think the best music you will be rewarded if you invest the time. I have a question regarding orchestration because there's a lot of orchestration, and since we are talking, I have prophecy in my head. Dun, 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 dun. So I think it punches a lot your music with the riffs, and there's not always a lot of orchestration, but you are using it wisely, I think. So what's the writing process to orchestrate your songs? Is that you start from the riffs, you apply some chords, and then you build on that? What are you doing?
Yeah, great question. Almost always I start with the riff, start with the guitar. So I'll then use the orchestra to like accentuate or punctuate certain stabs on like like you said with da 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 da. If I can pick that sort of melody out, then I can go with the violins on those particular notes.
Yeah.
And it creates a big strong, spiky sound, which I think is really cool. So yeah, Exilium's got it's got a lot of orchestra, but it's also quite spread out. So like I'll only use it when it's needed, because otherwise the whole thing isn't an orchestral,
Nope.
album. But
That's
there's
what I
parts
like.
where, but I think it's good too, right? You need to know when to back off, and then to bring it in to emphasize. Otherwise, you lose that emphasis. So it is usually that comes second, but sometimes I write my best stuff first on the piano or with the violin. So you mentioned Skyless featuring Jeff Loomis from my album Never After. That started with a piano thing. That intro was done on piano, and then I thought, can I make that into a riff on guitar? And I picked the guitar up and I said, no, I can't. It's too hard. It's like arpeggios and stuff. But I made a riff that worked with that. So that inspired the riff. And I've done it again on the new Never After album I'm working on, the sequel. I'll write some crazy violin line with MIDI, and then I'll be like, can I make that work on guitar? So it really works both ways. But mostly on Exilium, it was trying to bring the orchestra in when in the really big moments, mostly, or in a moment that it needs it, not just all the time. Yeah.
And that's great. I think it punctuates a lot your songs, and when there's no orchestral arrangement, it breathes.
Yeah.
So it's more about the guitar, more about the drums, more about your vocals. So I think it's great. Hey, I asked you what was your top 10 favorite album of the 90s, and you sent me a list, and that list is really cool. And I will just tell you my top 10 because I didn't share it with you. But your top 10 was like 3 albums by At the Gates, I think.
Yeah.
Was it in order? I don't have the
I think
list.
I think I had it in order, yeah. I think it was
It was in order?
Gates. Terminal
Okay,
Spirit
just-
Disease and With Fear I Kiss the Burning Darkness for sure were in there. Yeah. But I think when you asked me that question, what my favorite top Melodeath albums from the 90s, I was like, oh my god, I don't even know, because I had to check the dates, because I'm like, when was Clayman? Clayman was 2000, In Flames Clayman
2000.
album, and obviously that would probably be right up there, but unfortunately that can't make the cut. So I was like, damn, we're going back a long way now to the 90s, huh?
I have your list.
Right.
I will start from the 10 pick. It was Carcass, which is on my list also. You had with artwork, Dark Tranquility with Projector. You had With Fear I Kiss the Burning Darkness of At the Gates, Terminal Spirit Disease, Children of Bodom, Something Wild, which is so nice, so raw. In Flames Colony, In Flames Oracle, In Flames the Jester Race, At the Gates Slaughter of the Soul, and the big winner, Children of Bodom, Hate Breeder. And my first pick, I have a video on my YouTube channel for that top 10, and my first was Children of Bodom, Hate Breeder.
We got something in common. Yeah, it was between Slaughter of the Soul and Hate Breeder for me. I was like, how can I put? But I had to put Children of Bodom on the top. I think.
Yeah,
For this
just
one.
because
I just
of the
had to do it.
soloing.
Yeah, Alexi. I mean, God, just what a legend. What a legend.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
yes. Miss him so much. And
Yeah.
I had Slaughter of the Soul, but it was my 10th favorite album. So I will give you my list. My 10th was Slaughter of the Soul. 9 was Amorphous with Tales from the Thousand Lakes.
Mhm.
8 was Artwork by Carcass. Uh, 7 was Sentence with North from Here before they switch into the other style, more gothic. Arch Enemy with Burning Bridges at number 6. Number 5. Okay, Edge of Sanity at number 6 with Crimson. I think when you said there's almost no riffs that it's coming back. Crimson, there's like few riffs that are coming back in one song, one 40
Yeah.
minute song. It's crazy that album. Every
Wow.
single time listening to that thing, I'm like, it's so much better
Wow.
because you're
That's cool.
discovering new things.
Yeah.
I had Soilwork, the Heart Machine, at
Ah,
number
yeah.
4. It was released at the end of 99 and
Yeah.
in 2000 in some countries. So it was,
It got in there. It got on your list. Oh, maybe I should
yeah,
have put that on mine. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I had The Gallery by Dark Tranquility. Even if I like Projector a lot, The Gallery for me is the best. And
Mhm.
the Just a Race and 8 Breeder to finish that thing.
Yeah. Sick. Nice.
So, but like I said, I didn't pick 2 albums for a band. So if I had
Yeah.
the option to put more albums, sure, I will put Something Wild. Sure, I will put also more In Flames, Colony for sure,
Mm.
Oracle. So
Yeah.
but we need to do that for other decades as well.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I think with In Flames, I actually got into In Flames from the Tokyo Showdown
Oh yeah.
live album, and me and my friend used to listen to that on a cassette tape. You know, we used to listen to that on a Walkman as we walked to school together, and yeah, I remember that, and I have such chills about that album, but that made me go back and listen to everything else from In Flames. So I couldn't remember what year, those albums came out in, but then I was looking back and I was like, damn, In Flames really had some great albums and really inspirational albums, huh? Back in the 90s. It's kind of
Oh, it was incredible.
cool to
Up to
remember. Yeah.
Clayman, it was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just so melodic, not that complicated,
Yeah.
but so melodic. So
That's what made me fall in love with them, is the melodies,
yeah,
really.
and his vocals, Anders Frieden was amazing on vocals back then, and he's got a better voice right now than he was
Mm.
like 10 years ago. During the pandemic, he hired a vocal coach,
Uh-huh.
and it improved his vocals a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah. Cool.
like you did.
Awesome. Like I did, yeah.
So, as a conclusion, Andy, it was such a pleasure to have you on the channel and for a chat. I think we have a lot in common regarding our personal tastes in music. And what do you want to say to any indie Gillion fans? There's Never After 2, and
Never After Two's coming. Yeah, I'm probably 3/4 of the way through with the writing of that. But if you've not listened to the new album Exilium, please check it out. It's available everywhere, and you can only order physical merch and vinyl and stuff from my website andygillion.com. So if you want to check that out, everything is signed. I've signed everything out, personalized cards going out to you. I ship everything myself, completely independent. So please check that out, and yeah, just enjoy the music. And thanks so much for anyone who's listening. That's all I can say, really.
that's great. And maybe one other thing, you have also a Patreon, I think, huh?
I do have a Patreon. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for reminding me. Yeah.
And you are like showing how you build songs, I
Yeah.
think. You
Yeah,
have
so
really
I
cool
actually
stuff on that
I
Patreon.
wrote,
actually.
yeah. If you want to follow me for more stuff on Patreon, obviously that's the best way to support me. Actually, is Patreon.
Yeah.
On Exilium, the new album, we actually wrote a lot of that together on live streams through my Patreon with the community. It was absolutely amazing. So people got to see me write a lot of the music together on there. So yeah, worth checking out if you wanna support me there. Thanks so much.
That's so great. I think that's the best way to help an artist, and it brings you like into the artistic process at the same time. So
Definitely.
it's so wonderful to see behind behind the veil, the curtains.
Yeah.
So great. So I guess we will see each other another time, Andy.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.